Quarterfinals number 1 done. Quarterfinals number 2 on the other side of the bracket now kicks off and underway. It is Wanted Goons, the invited team, taking on Coastal Gaming, the number 2 from Group B out of qualifiers just the last couple of weeks. I'm time to light. And alongside me here is Sirius. And I gotta say here, Cade, a little bit more contentious for Coastal coming into things and a lot less room for error as we move into single eliminate.
I mean, and considering the fact that all of their games have been close up until this point, it's definitely very little room for error considering they don't leave any room for error whatsoever in their games so far. So, I mean, hey, what do you know? I mean, this is going to be one of their toughest games yet because, I mean, they had to play Bros Without Host twice and then Valkyrie in their technical promotion match, but overall they haven't really made it easier on themselves. It's just a lot of kind of mistakes, but then on the other side, Wanted Goons, very fun playstyle, very aggressive. It's going to be very interesting to see how they pair up against them.
And Wanted Goons coming into a team that, again, lost to Valkyrie. Valkyrie lost to Aerial Arise just earlier on. Aerial Arise continuing their streak of dominance in the team / 2.5 scene, despite losing Mr. P earlier, which I think commendations to them. Good one.
Yeah.
But that means Group B, the entire group, lies on just one team because Valkyrie's gone, so you're down to just Gaming. Now, Coastal Gaming, a team that used to be a lot more prevalent than they currently are, obviously coming back in the Siege scene recently. I gotta say, this is pretty good for them, making it to quarterfinals of a fairly contested match or contested tournament. But if you win here, you really put yourself a little bit closer to the forefront, especially up against a team like Blood.
I mean, for a team that did as well as Wanted Goons, out of nowhere, almost all of a sudden in Element 2, it was just like, hey, these guys are really good, so being able to beat them would be a huge boost, like you kind of said, to just be like, all right, we actually showcase that we're more than just a team that came out from quals and actually can do well against some of these top performing teams that got invited in. And so just overall for Wanted Goons, it's kind of the same deal as before, except for Reveal has kind of replaced Deadly from Element 2 season. So otherwise, it's the exact same roster and we don't have any stats because they haven't played yet. So really, we don't know what they're going to look like until we get into the lobby. But otherwise, Coastal Gaming, we've already seen a little bit of them. So if we move on over to their roster, we could maybe get a little bit more of an idea on what we might expect out of them.
Coastal Gaming, this is a real, I'm not going to say redemption arc for them because this is a team that has looked still pretty good as individuals as well. But their stats show a pretty decent story. Their loss against Valkyrie, they're going to want back. It could have been a number 1 seed rather than number 2, but it is. They have Gav, Jodels, Engage, Russ, and Recited. And if you're moving into a best of 3 like this against a team that is the unknown, usually you want to take them to either maps you are the most comfortable on that you've ever seen, or more common maps. So we'll get to the maps in a second.
Yeah. And just, it's very interesting to see that, one, their attacks are doing this well as their defenses are just sitting at a 50% mark, is that even though they've gone to max regulation or nearly max OT almost every single game they've been in so far, they still have decent stats overall. I mean, I'm not sure exactly if that attacking stat is correct. I feel like that's flipped if I remember correct, but I'm not entirely certain. I could be entirely wrong about that. But otherwise, it's very surprising because some of these games, it's just like so many rounds come down to the wire. They have 5 clutches this season so far. And so kind of just the fact that every game has come down to max regulation or just max OT is definitely okay. There it is. That's correct. So that's more or less what I thought it would be. But still, to my point is that they can't really leave it to chance with just relying upon these clutches to win a lot of these games out, because if every game has gone to max OT or max regulation, then what's that to really say about just your overall synergy and coordination? Granted, they still have good stats, so I'm sure if they fix up some of those mistakes, make it a bit more confident wins in these under their belts, they should be able to do well, especially like you said, depending on what map we go to.
So if I'm doing my math correctly, which it's entirely possible that I'm not, we'll go through our maps and I'll get back to my math in just a second. But Border taken off, Wanted Gaming, Wanted Goons, not Wasted Talent, Wanted Goons, removing Nighthaven Labs. Gotta say, not surprising. Coastal have looked good on Labs. We've seen them in different iterations of the team. Taking out Labs to start, not surprising. Club to start, though. I was talking about seeing more common maps. This is exactly what I was talking about. Common map to start, common map second. Coastal having defense on Consulate gives them probably the greatest advantage they can.
I totally agree. And both of those going to be seeing is 2 maps that they've already played to start off this event, where they beat Bros Without Hose 7-5 in the very first matchup and then played Chalet twice back to back after that. So I mean, it's maps that they're familiar with, and so otherwise Consulate is going to be the very interesting one, because I don't know how well they do on it. We haven't really seen them pick it at all up until this point. And then the other end, one of Goons, they're also familiar with a lot of these maps, especially Consulate, where, if a reminder from Element, they beat Osiris 7-2 on that for the very infamous clip of them singing the I Want It That Way at the very end of that game. So it was certainly a kind of a way to just kind of signify that.
I'm sorry.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Save it for later, Dan. We're not doing that now. Come on. Can't start off with the best bit first.
All I'm saying is, if I randomly break into song as soon as Consulate starts, it is purely because I love Consulate, and Consulate is my fire. The one I desire. Believe what I say. We're going to the clubhouse. Wanted Goons up against Coastal Gaming in our second quarterfinal of it.
I sometimes can't with you, Dan. I just can't. You know, it's.
Oh, come on, that was great.
Oh no, that was fantastic, great. But still, it's what the hell just happened there?
Great.
All right.
You know you loved it. It's okay. Accept it.
I'll just accept it. Just bite my tongue. I have to see you soon anyway, so
that's true.
I'll get my revenge then.
Hey, PSA, go to DreamHack Dallas.
Yes,
please and thank you.
That'd be great.
I'd like to say that it will be more fun, and hopefully I get to see an actual 5x OT and CS, but we won't go to a Rainbow Six.
No, that's sad. Rainbow Six Siege are always fun. I wish I could go to the Manchester one, but that's at a weird time.
True.
Yeah.
It's like right after school ends for most people, and flight prices just start getting terrible. So it could be like a month earlier.
It could have been a month earlier, but it's also still in the middle of work season for me, at least. So I don't have to deal with school, but I have to deal with the fact that work is a thing. So otherwise, we're finally getting into the game. It's one of Goons against Coastal Gaming on map number 1 of Clubhouse, and I mean, otherwise, this is going to be very interesting to see how Coastal Gaming do against one of Goons, because I mean, they're just kind of sometimes a little bit loosey-goosey. Their attacks aren't always super great. I mean, they have 52% on it, but in their last game against Bros Without Hose, they kind of looked a little bit sloppy if they went with a hard set strat, but if they played a little bit more loose, a little bit more aggressive, they seem to do pretty well. So against another aggressive team, mind you, it would be very interesting to see how they pair up against one of Goons, with a Ying band starting us off.
Ying, not too surprising. Hibana, I'm not going to say is surprising considering the map, but overall is still a little bit of a shock. That second attacking ban slot has always been a little bit conflicted for most teams. It's easily filled here, whether you want to take out information, whether you want to take out hard breaches. Hibana for the hatches is not uncommon. Cade also for the hatches is not uncommon. But that means that we will see either A, Fenrir, or B, Azami played, if not both of them, up to wanted Goons on that one, and they will unsurprisingly at least take out one of the effort.
I mean, that does leave up Fenrir and Solus at that same regard, as well as Mira. So a lot of powerful operators still up on the board for the defense whenever we get to see a little bit further in. Mira already and Fenrir already being brought out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Coastal Gaming kind of get into this, because otherwise they're going to be trying to take it from top-down approach, it would seem. At least their initial lineup is starting to indicate. And then they have to deal with the fact that Scoob is on Mozzie right now. That's going to take a lot of time into the investment of the drone game, and make sure that, all right, we need to make sure we don't waste too much time on the roam clear. We need to actually get down, get to the bomb site, open up those hatches. And with a Hibana now banned, you're going to have to rely a lot heavily on the Ace and the Buck to actually get those hatches open and make sure neither of them die, because, I mean, it's already bad if Hard Breacher dies, but it's almost impossible with the Hibana now banned. So Otherwise, just kind of need to see how Coastal get a little bit settled into this. Are they going to be hard set in their strategies, or are they going to be a little bit more loose, try to get in the faces of Goons?
It also seems like if Coastal Gaming don't do, we'll say, due diligence in terms of droning, they may make some, we'll say, incorrect decisions on their attacking side. They really do not need to bring in that Thatcher, and they won't. It's the IQ instead. I like the IQ selection. Really eliminates 3 separate pieces of utility. And I think the Warden Glance glasses show up on the IQ scanner as well, so that could be some active information just the same. So a few pieces of utility that basically either A, get eliminated, or B, can get hacked by Recited swapping onto the Brava, and Scoob just took team damage. Or, no, he tried to spawn peek out Freezer and took enemy damage. Not a great idea to start off.
I mean, at least he's falling off pretty quickly, though, so he's going to be opting to stay near those main stairs area, but there's a heavy presence over towards the secret blue stairs side. So right now, Goons are playing a little bit closer to the bomb site, trying to actually bunker down pretty heavily, but still leave a lot of presence over towards that lounge area. And it's going to make it Coastal Gaming have to spend a lot more time actually clearing out the rest of this map, because they're going to still think and try to be diligent about this top floor clear. It's going to be wasting that much more time, and then once they actually get down to the first floor, those drones are going to be shot or captured by the Mozzie pests. So at this point, now they just need to actually get control of the map, get into the building, and then pressure these bad guys back down to the basement.
So, we talked with Poison just a couple days ago, and notably Poison brought up the fact that even if you do an extended roam on Club, it still takes about a minute and change, if not more, to clear out each room. Now that can change depending on some utility usage or other factors, like, I don't know, a C4. But that roam forces out a lot more due diligence, or at least the phantom roam, from Wanted Goons, to where Coastal Gaming maybe have to hop on a drone, maybe have to wait for information, make too many sound cues, slow themselves down. Whatever the factor may be, a C4 and Shrapnel will be the catalyst to an opening. This is a great start for Wanted Goons, and they've mostly disengaged safely. Everything started to go their way, and they still have the Warden patiently waiting for any extension over towards that secret side.
And cams are still up. I'm not sure if Joddles has actually found any with his IQ scanner, so at this point, Reveal is still going to be sitting towards these secret stairs, just relying on that pressure if anyone tries to go down secret stairs late in the round, because that's going to be the next point of contention. So they've got Kitchen Hatch and Moto Hatch open at the same time, but there's probably going to be someone rotating over towards blue to apply that third bit of contention to kind of encircle the defense, but no one's actually gone to do that yet, and Reveal's actually going to give that up, and oh, no, they're going to try to play it right now, just using the Osa shield.
I've seen this happen before, though, and they didn't hold down the long hallway well enough. A C4 could also be the catalyst to taking that out. It's exactly what happens right off the bat. C4 lands, they break the shield, and they down the Osa, who's now finished off with the diffuser out in the open. Recited walking through has at least been seen by one. A second player's down. That's Scoob, isolated the backside of shelves. But just walking in, it's gunfights galore, and all of them going the way of Coastal Gaming. They end up winning the round in a flash. It's the Para and the 552 Commando as they just W key in to both sides of each site. And Coastal Gaming don't care about utility, shields, planning the diffuser. What's an objective? It's a first-person shooter.
I mean, we kind of talked about it in the pregame of just if they play to a hard set strat, they struggle a little bit on their attacks, but when they play a little bit more loose, play a little bit more just kind of gun up, they do very well in their games. It doesn't even matter if things aren't necessarily going well. They have the raw gun skill, they have the aggression to kind of follow that up and say, all right, I know exactly where you should be standing. I'm just going to go swing that, because there's only so many places that they have to be standing. It's going to be back towards Dummy Box, over towards Dirt, behind AKs, and then Church itself. There's only so many limited options that Wanted Goons can actually sit, that by the time that Coastal Gaming just realized that the plant's not going to work, they just send it straight forward and then go deal with the pressure on the site itself and don't even try to worry about the plant. Wanted Goons just didn't seem to have the information that they were going to be going for that. They seem to be very caught off guard and just overall just surprised that, hey, we're losing bodies left and right. There's no trades anywhere. What is happening, guys? So, not even going to try to reattempt that bomb site. Going to go instead to Gym Bedroom and try to shake things up there.
Coastal Gaming, on the attacking side, already have a first, and it seemed like they just had a blatant disrespect for the information and utility game of the Wanted Goons. The question still remains, does it just come down to mechanical skill? Do Wanted Goons understand, hey, the scope of this map has changed already off of just a singular round? Because sometimes teams will expect Coastal Gaming or an attacking team in general to try and clear out utility, and then start to pick the fights, and then start to just rush if they really have to. But Coastal, they faced 1 point of adversity and were like, oh yeah, we don't care about utility or information. We're just going to W because we can. And it worked, yeah, sure. But that does give Wanted Goons an inkling of what they may have to change about their playstyle, and fairly early. So maybe round 1's a misnomer, but there's still a heck of a lot of time remaining to determine that one.
I mean, it certainly is the case, and that could be an indication that Wanted Goons need to play a little bit more together, play those crossfires. Reveal is going to get into at least an initial engagement towards the bottom of the red stairs, and is immediately going to fall back towards his teammate of Scoob. But now Garage Pressure in the control of Coastal Gaming with the CC breach now open. So now at this point, it's going to be a matter of if Coastal actually want to go through this cache site setup, or is this just a ruse, rotate over and get that jacuzzi breach, and then pressure the site there, just leave Guy here for a cutoff to make sure nobody can peek that highway window. It does seem, though, that they're very indicating that they want to go for this cache I take.
So, I'm wondering now, as they commit to this cache side take, what do they find with it? They use the buck, they could throw off whoever's sitting inside of cache, and it seems like they will with that opening. The reswing from Scoob unsuccessful, immediately losing 2. Recited is refragged, sure, but it's already forcing Wanted Goons into a player disadvantage, collapsing on the site in the extent of, we'll say, viable utility right now, a couple impacts and a C4, alongside whatever's pre-placed in terms of Legion Goo mines, the Dread mines, you get the idea. But this still isn't going great for Wanted Goons, and you could see less than ideal positioning given where the Legion currently is.
But that was only the players that were sitting actually over towards cache side. If Exige can get the kill onto Hatch player here, that could be big, but he unfortunately misses out on that opportunity. He's going to try to instead swing out deep into the middle of Logi, try to get a construction player out of the way, but nobody's peeking just yet. Coastal are being very patient. They're trying to drone things out ahead of themselves to make sure when they finally go for this push, they have all the information.
Bottles wants the kill, does damage. Exige takes damage from that construction window as well, but he'll survive, and that's what matters as of right now. The issue still, 30 seconds left, and they're running into more problems than they could solve. Run-In walks in, Dreadmine finds them. They'll end up walking into it again, makes things much more difficult. The kills start going Wanted Goon's way because that extra part of the pincer was a little too distracted, and Run-In now isolated, needs to find a way in. This is Gav looking for anything he can. He's running in, but only to his demise. Coastal Gaming will try their darndest. They end up finally being shut down by Wanted.
I mean, and that's just the power of the Fenrir right there, and just that ability to slow down the attack, because Coastal Gaming were looking in prime position to kind of encircle the defense and just make sure to get those last 3 players out of their way as soon as they got Logi control. But as soon as a player steps into that Fenrir Dreadnought mine, he can't see a thing, and then he can't help his teammate as soon as he's getting swung in the middle of construction. So those 2 players just die for nothing, and then you lose all that control that you worked so hard to get up until that point, all because of one Dreadnought mine that was placed strategically on the hatch drop, and then from there he can't really see anything. He has to push even deeper into the actual crossfires and setup by Wanted Goons, and now all they have to do is just wait it out, let the attackers walk right into their gun sites, and then finish the round off from there. So well played by Wanted Goons in that final kind of just confrontation where they started off very, very poorly, I would say, on the cache side, but instead rely upon their defensive setup to win that round out and then go back to basics.
So the basics for Wanted Goons now is, what do they adjust about their defensive side of the bottom floor? As of right now, the only swap I see, correct me if I'm wrong, is Mendez swaps from the Valkyrie onto the Legion. Everything else is a carbon copy from round 1, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't hate this. Remember, Coastal Gaming not only played the IQ, but they also played that Brava. The cameras were either found out and shot or found out and hacked, so the information probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. Plus, Coastal Gaming just walked in, irregardless of the information-based utility, and because of the recent change to the Legion mines, they are no longer translucent, which also means they're no longer electronic. They cannot be seen by an IQ, nor can they be hacked by a Brava. So, you've basically countered the entire selection thereof. The extent of utility that can be hacked right now, Dread mines, which can then no longer be closed, or Mozzie pests, which are so irrelevant, I'm surprised I brought it up.
I mean, and it's also another issue of their last attempt at this bomb site of just not having enough information of when they're swinging deep into the bomb site. Just kind of a reminder that they just kind of all of a sudden had lost all control of the diffuser in the middle of the church bomb site, and then all of a sudden everyone from Coastal Gaming swung deep in and then just killed everyone on site that was just sitting back because they were thinking that they're going to try to reattempt the plant. Surely, right? Instead, they're going to rely upon those Legion mines and the Fenrir mines on top of that to just make sure that any gaps that they might have is going to be surely under their control. They don't have to worry about it. They just have to focus on actually holding down the site at this point because guess what? It's another bunker hold with actually Scoob still sitting top red, the lone roamer at this point.
Do they clear this? That's the question, though. We've seen problems in terms of clearing a roam before. They didn't push secret last time. It's Coastal Gaming. The real reason for that, if I had to assume anything, which I don't do very often, is because they lost that fourth member and understood overextending was probably going to end their round anyway. But if they don't drone out that top floor, which they haven't completely done just yet, and they just discount the fact that wanted goons, oh yeah, they didn't drone last time, they probably won't drone this time. Scoob, I'm not sure if they have been heard right now. There was a drone over towards the garage balcony and inside of CCTV. However, given the movement of Coastal Gaming, I'm going to take a random guess here and say they don't know he's there. Joddles, no, he will drone it, and the Mozzie will be very much noted. But with a minute left, they still have yet to clear the roam. That's a big Achilles heel.
And that's just going to force Resided to just sit here at the bottom of red stairs in the middle of lounge and just waste time there. He can't actually help with the push at this point. That's going to be effective 4v5 on the actual execute attempt because Resided now has to make sure that Scoob isn't going to flank later in the round. But he's been given a lot of space. He could honestly go down the main stairs and get the players that are trying to walk down main stairs and go for that ash wall plant again. He's done exactly that. He's just rotating around, but Engage already trying to make his way in, doing the exact same thing as last time.
There's 3 in Memo. They have the diffuser sitting in the back corner of Arsenal, which is currently being held from up above. There's no current angle that will help the defensive side that is not actively being watched. A re-swing of Memo, there's one. A swing for a second, they don't turn and face, and finally they do. They lose too many members in the process. A direct 1-for-1 trade. Exer and Joddles take one another out. Runnin's isolated, but he's on the top floor with control above the diffuser, and he's playing Buck. This is the best possible person you could have in this position, but he decides to just go run away. They go for the top extension. They try to clear him out of position. Damage is done. They want to deny the defuse, but they will be unable to deny the counter defuse. Reveal will indeed find the kill, and Exige sticks it for a wanted goons back-to-back victory.
I mean, it just comes down to the fact that they just didn't really seem set up for the fact that Scoob is still on the roam, Resided, having to just kind of scramble around, either watch for the flank or just kind of rotate around, actually help with the push. And even though they get the plant down, it just didn't seem like Coastal was like properly set up. They weren't really primed and ready for the aggression that wanted goons, realizing that they can't stop the defuse, have to get the players surrounding the diffuser in the middle of the site, just swarm onto them, get the kill into the middle of Moto, and then swing onto the main stairs, get that control, and then all you have to deal with is the last guy that's still up above, and you just play that to absolute perfection. One guy sticks the counter defuse while one guy tries to swing him. It's all you have to do. Make sure you stall for enough time, or you kill him in the process. Either way is a win in your book. Otherwise, Wanted Goons adapting really well to what went wrong in the very first round and making sure that even though Coastal Gaming do get the plant down this time around, they still have the resources and the ability to deny it.
With Wanted Goons now up 1, they've already taken out Gym Bedroom. They've dropped successfully Church Arsenal. They'll go CCTV Cache. I've seen teams go bar instead, but unsurprisingly, you'll see CCTV Cache. And alongside it, with Solus being unbanned, you'll see her instead of the Fenrir. Fenrir kind of useless on this site. There are not too many direct parallel positions that are, we'll say, helped alongside a Dreadmine. So you play for some verticality, you've got some free information, it'll help. However, I've got a question. Thoughts on the Solus Knight?
Well, we don't know anything yet, but from what I've heard, it's definitely going to be a big impact. And what's going to be an even bigger impact is Runnin taking off Exige's head. Not sure exactly how that happened, but nevertheless, Wanted Goons already down a man at this point in the round and already putting a lot of pressure onto the garage. Going to force Mendez from being in the middle of the basement, try to force his way back up and actually help Exer at this point, trying to just still maintain control because Resident's now on the Monty, and with the CC wall open, Exer is in a very tough spot at this point.
He's isolated, but nobody's actively holding that main balcony. So that could be a problem that isn't particularly a problem right now. I don't know if that phantom pressure is going to end up helping them, but somebody's just walking through the garage breach. Keep an eye on Gav. Bottom right of your screen right now has ended up walking back towards the main stairs and will instead go a different direction. But Jottles ends up losing their life. They just used a stim, so they can't pick themselves up, but they will indeed be retrieved. Nothing consequential. He was inside of Secret and was ended up himself. Got picked up.
Defense is online.
How did Exer end up down here? What?
Oh, he just dropped.
He just dropped. How did that? I don't know how he's allowed to do that because he also got a kill on the run at the same time, and someone's retaking the balcony position.
What?
He's getting pressured out, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Scoobing getting the finisher onto Jolt at this point. Ultimately, a 3v3 with a little over a minute left, and somehow Coastal Gaming still do not have garage control.
His legs were showing.
Oh.
I can't believe his legs were showing, and he gets killed through the bottom of the rotate in CC, and it leaves Mendez alone. Only one impact remaining. His position's been noted. That does 20 damage. Just really wasn't worth it. And it opened up the breach for Recited to go hunting for him. Now he's got a 1v3 with a Monty directly in front of him, and he has to take a fight with somebody else. Well, basically body block. Russ will dispatch of him, and we'll say some surprising usage of utility and less than ideal positioning. Gives Coastal Gaming their own second.
I mean, that was just a weird and wacky round altogether. I don't know how one Exer is still allowed to just drop down from the balcony and then still stay alive for at least a little bit longer. I
think he dropped to kill Gav, who was through his own little breach, and then he was just able to survive because nobody had a shot on him behind a hard wall.
That must have been it.
In the middle garage.
That's the only thing that I can really think to explain how he was allowed to do that. But regardless, just Goons left so much onto Exer, just hold that down the entire round. Sure, yeah, Mendez was trying to help from down below in Lounge, but that's only a little bit of pressure that he can help with, because as soon as you open up G1, G2 walls, you can get some angles onto the Swamp player. That's really not a great position to sit, and precisely so, Mendez plays a little bit further back and just allows Rizid to just walk in, not really be able to help Exer out, who just has to hop over a balcony and try to alleviate some of the pressure himself. Ultimately, doesn't work. They still lose garage control, and then they lose the round because Monty is just in the face of every single player here who cannot do a damn thing about him. They don't have the utility or the resources to take him out. It's just kind of pure luck at that point if you win a gunfight against them. So now, Goons going back to Gym Bedroom once again. It was their first defensive win and trying to just rely upon more utility this time around.
So at this juncture, at least right, Wanted Goons, they are extending a little bit more compared to what we've seen in previous occasions of them playing Gym Bedroom. Now, it's probably a temporary extension, maybe just to force out utility, or to force an entire operator selection. Remember in round one when I was talking about, oh yeah, if Coastal Gaming don't drone properly, they're going to have to force out a Thatcher and get nothing with it? Well now, they've droned properly, they know they need a Thatcher, and they are technically correct. But the Twitch would have done just enough, and Exige uses a single bandit battery, maybe two, on that wall, and magically you forced out an entire operator selection, maybe 2 or 3 if you count the Flores or the Twitch in that conversation, and you're just not committing anything more than, oh yeah, I'm going to place it and run.
And I'm pretty sure he actually got a thermite charge from Engage on that construction wall. His reveal. Oh no! They must have known that he was there. Yeah, yellow ping is right there. They knew exactly where Reveal is standing. So that's going to be some of my magnets now off the board. Not going to be in use for this cash extension that Scoob is trying to run away from, taking so much damage, still somehow able to keep his life. But what was the cost? You just given up cash control and lost so much for it.
I think he had a shield there, and it was taken out by either a Flores drone that he didn't know about before, or somebody used a GONS 6 in the same process. Either way, you've taken out positional advantage. Wanted Goons again are forced to collapse. We've seen this before. Granted, it was a 3 versus 4 rather than a 4 versus 5, and there was a lot more HP on everybody. but Scoob repositions into basically a I'm going to win this fight because they don't check me, or I'm going to lose it because they check me angle. Either way, HP is basically irrespective of his success. Joddles knows at least one player's in logistics, but is he aware of the second? And does he know exactly where the first is in that same conversation?
They know at least one player's here, and they know he's in the exact same corner, so Joddles being very careful, just kind of trying to slowly peek this, but yeah, that's the bait. Mendez is now going to give up the spot and just let Soob hold it for the rest of this round. Now Mendez can actually help with the actual main push. He can kind of swing around this short haul area and help out wherever he needs to, whether it's main or the short or jacuzzi ball.
Oh, and they haven't cleared Scoob whatsoever. They haven't looked in this general direction for the entirety of the round. Yes, they lose Mendez, but do they clear the rest of logistics? One, make it two, found by Scoob. He could be the Achilles heel, even though he's on very marginal HP. Coastal Gaming with 30 seconds have the player advantage, but again, we've seen this before. Exige also hasn't made much noise, but he's been cleared in the same process in a 1 versus 3, an ace required on 1 HP, and it's unsuccessful, to understate the obvious. Russ again closes out a round of the AK-12 in a little bit of a nice clean fashion as well. And Coastal Gaming back on top as they reestablish their lead from ult.
And if Scoob had just peeked out a little bit earlier, played off the sound more, he probably could have still left Mendez up, and that's more bodies up in that final execute. Probably a 3v3, maybe 3v4. I couldn't really tell exactly how that all collapsed. Aside from just the thermite swinging into the middle of Logi, getting one, and I think a second on top of that. So just Scoob not peeking at the right time. I love the play of just baiting out the rest of your team for just a quick second, but letting him get 1 or 2 picks is huge in that moment when you're already losing so much control of the surrounding map space. You just cannot let them take that control. Even though you picked up 2, you still lose a lot in the process because now you're completely surrounded. Everyone from Coastal Gaming is ready to hit the bomb site as soon as possible, and all they have to do is just pick off the last few members who are still on the extremities or just sitting on the bomb site directly.
So, after, we'll say, a shaky start on both sides, Wanted Goons in round 1 and Coastal Gaming in rounds 2 and 3, both teams seem to find a little bit of a rhythm, each of them having some individual prowess, keeping a minute. Wanted Goons now heading back to the bottom floor where they've had ample success and, we'll say, less than ideal showings in the earlier stages of each of their defensive rounds at the bottom. But from what we've seen, they understand what needs to change, and that's now guaranteed with some more operator selections. They keep over the Warden, but swap who it's on. They keep over the Legion on Mendez. They keep over Exer on the Mira, but Exige on to the Smoke instead of the Fenrir, and reveal, like I mentioned, off of that Warden, he goes on to the Echo. They basically want to completely counter out that Osa. However, there's no Osa.
No, and I have a feeling this may be a much faster take coming in from Coastal Gaming. I could be wrong because they do seem to be trying to take out that top red, go towards CC, and then work their way down towards Secret. That does seem to be where they're initially setting things up for this in part of the take, but now, as soon as that stock hatch gets open, they're just going to be droning things out, making sure that there's no pressure from up above, and there's no presence anywhere else. They can just focus on the site directly. Engage is going to take out some barbed wire, clear the way for Resided later in the round, and I would have to imagine it's all going to come down to this blue play.
Either the blue play, or they're just putting this as like a red herring. Like, look, there's just running a different direction. Now, this should be enough of a sound cue. They would have heard the blitz regardless of how far away any individual is. That would have been a sound cue picked up. So Coastal Gaming have really lost their anonymity at this juncture, but at the same time, Wanted Goons have been more than happy to just completely turtle. In round 1, they kind of extended. Round 2, they extremely extended. Again, round 2 of this bottom floor. And now, the third time around, they will completely isolate themselves inside. With 90 seconds, nobody has even shot at anybody else. It has just been shooting at inanimate objects and soft flooring / walling.
And are they going to do the exact same play, or is Runnin just kind of baiting that out, opening up that ash wall? Because at this point, they've opened up a lot of the overall space. They've got dirt opened up. They've got all the hatches open at this point. So now, Wanted Goons just need to be sure that they know exactly where this push is coming from. They cannot let up any space, and especially can't let Resided get deep in, get in the faces, because Exige is going to have a hard time in a couple seconds.
Right now, Resided is ADS'd. So around this corner, if Exige swings properly, that shotgun can hit the head and do very lethal damage. Resided decided to un-ADS and just sit here and wait. Joddle's on the other side. That could be the bait, but the sound cue was certainly there. Exige has not heard a very large blitz start running in a different direction, so he will take the fight very close range. Unfortunately, he's not awarded no glasses to keep him alive. He'll die to an un-ADS P12, and they will again lose the player advantage, but they still have some players on the site, and at least one picked up there for Xer, but he has to prone and isolate himself. Joddles finds one, Gav with two, and just like that, Coastal Gaming, they capitalize on their attacking win percentage. They make it 66% here on Club, and they'll go up 4-2 to really kick off this quarterfinal.
And just a huge shakeup from what we saw in their first two attempts of attacking that bomb site. Because both times they went for the ash wall breach and then just let the Osa get in, try to get that plant down, and then win the round from that standpoint alone. That time, they switch things up, allow Resided to kind of be a distraction towards Dirt, make sure they get that control, and then surround the entire bomb site. Goons have nowhere really left to run. They just have to take their gunfights, and with Capitao burning out blue control, you just lose even more on top of that. So just kind of having to run straight into the guns, and they're primed and ready with all these hatches open, all these angles that are set upon you at this point. Goons have to win every single gunfight. They try to do their best, but running out of room, running out of opportunities allows Coastal Gaming to get their fourth round win and then put themselves in a great standpoint going into their own defensive half.
I've also seen some very stark differences and similarities between some individual rounds, whether it was Coastal Gaming swapping up their attacking decision-making because they understood Wanted Goons was going to make some swaps of their own, or, in this case, it's Coastal Gaming with similar operator selection to Wanted Goons' defense of the bottom floor themselves. Again, we're seeing the Warden, Mozzie as well, mute for Joddles instead of smoke like we just saw, but still the Mira, and Engage will pick up the Wamai. Overall, I like the decisions. There's nothing that Coastal Gaming can do coming into this game that they would be able to prep for, especially with Wanted Goons not playing a game in qualifiers. They didn't do anything to make it here other than be invited. They say they're a bad team or anything, or they don't deserve to be here. They don't have any previous VODs, at least not as of direct recency, that Coastal Gaming would be able to base any selections off of. But now, you have to question, is Coastal Gaming just guessing? Are they playing for their own comfortability? Or do they see something or know something that we don't?
I mean, it doesn't seem like... I don't think they're playing to counter-strat Wanted Goons at this point because, I mean, there is a small shake-up from Element 2. I think they're just playing their own separate kind of style of Siege at this point because this is kind of similar to what we saw from their previous matchup against Bros, where they looked very comfortable once they kind of got things settled, kind of made sure that they get their control, but it came down to them just winning a lot of their gunfights with confidence in mind, and then just kind of keeping that up throughout the rest of these rounds, even though they ended up being very close. It just comes down to their comfortability playing around each other and individual plays as well. Scoob, though, and Russ at the same time in the middle of stock, just kind of on his lonesome. Resided is going to get the first one. Scoob and Russ still alive somehow.
Always going for another, and he finds Mendez. He knew that he was going to be swung from inside of bar, and he took the fight, but nobody else is fighting him at the same time. That's the problem. He's not forced to look multiple directions at the same time. Skeleton Key, yes, it does damage, but only really point blank. Engage goes down to like 10 health on an MP5K, but he finds enough body shots to determine things back in his favor. Coastal Gaming, what is that, 4 consecutive rounds from 2-1 down and now 5-2 up? And they're very close from sending Clubhouse home.
I mean, that was a just overall surprising round. Just somehow Russ getting completely undroned in the middle of stock until it was basically way too late. Gets 2, and then they lose a third on top of that somewhere else on the map. I believe it was Scoop to die first in that round. Wanted Goons, just their first attacking round, was just floundering from the very start. I don't know what happened, why they lost all that control, but it just seems like they just have no idea where anyone from Coastal was standing, and then just completely lost every single gunfight, and then just looked clueless from there. I hate to say that because they're a very competent team and showcased what they can really do, but that first round, overall, it was just, all right, I don't know what's happening with this team, but they need to figure something out right now. If they lose this round, I would very much like to see a timeout coming in from them.
So the term is redundancy. It is having extra availability to make up for any shortcomings that may come elsewhere. The term mostly spans from science / availability with SSDs or hardware drives, but you mostly have to remember, if you are looking for redundancy on your attack or defense, and you have a player who may be taking a 1v1, make it a 2v1 or a 3v1, making sure they don't have to be isolated in 100% of the time when they're one, because sometimes it's just not going to happen. You can be the most mechanically skilled player in the world and still get killed by an errant headshot because it's Siege. Happens to me all the time. I'm obviously the best player in the world. But you also have to remember that Wanted Goons, they had the information they needed. They just didn't take the fight collectively, so you give away not only one versus one, but two, and then you just re-swing elsewhere trying to make up for it. You don't have that same flexibility, nor man count, to recover it. And that's mostly why they lost that round. It also didn't help that Russ is just nuts. But, yeah, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, now they've at least kind of gone for going up against a very similar to how they held this bomb site themselves. Coastal Gaming going for a small extension towards cash side, Resided, applying some pressure, but at this point, Wanted Goons are trying to do a similar thing of just open up that construction wall, then work on Jacuzzi because they don't want to focus on cash at all. They're just trying to surround the bomb site itself right now. They're just trying to constrict the movement of the defenders, and I would imagine it's going right now.
They're just going in. They open up that bathroom rotate, but they get flashed by themselves. It turns out it seemed like a Wamai disc caught them out, but in doing all of this, they basically isolated themselves to this side of the map. They've given up logistics, and with it, a kill. Joddles has seen a prone Buck around the corner, and maybe going for a C4 they will, but one that ends up killing Reveal because they took earlier damage to an explosive that went off incidentally. Exige is lucky to be alive, but look at the 3 players currently actively alive for the team. Minus now the Buck, who's definitively dead. All of them are low. Even the melee of that window may not keep them alive, but it's that redundancy from a different angle. Boy, do I love being right.
You always do love when you're right. You just
It's very
love
nice.
to tell everyone about it. Don't you?
Doesn't happen very often, all right?
All right. Yeah, sure. I'll give you it this one time, Dan. I mean, just beautiful kind of attack coming in from Wanted Goons. A lot more confident, a lot more poised from that previous round where it's just like, all right, we don't seem to have an idea of how to actually take a gunfight together as a team. This time, it was a full team effort to make sure that, all right, I'm watching this angle, I'm watching this angle, we're pushing Bathroom as a collective here. That guy in Bathroom is not going to live, thanks mostly to a blitz, but also just the coverage behind him, just making sure that that guy is going to die no matter what. Even if the blitz player dies, there's a player right behind him that will immediately get the refrag, and then all you have to do is watch the kind of funnel backs for Coastal Gaming to get back into the bomb site, because now you've killed one of the only few players who can actually sit on the bomb site comfortably was the Bathroom player. Now everyone else has to come in from the main stairs, coming from logistics or construction. As soon as you have those cutoffs established, Wanted Goons were in a great prime position, get that plant down, and then just hold those angles from there on out, and then make sure that Coastal Gaming cannot get back into that round. So seeing that exact same bomb site coming out for them, not surprised, but they're going to have to do a much better job of resisting that Jacuzzi breach.
5 seconds to go.
So, going back to the same position, but making, we'll say, negligible changes. Inconsequential ones, I don't think so, but negligible, sure. You're swapping out the Wamai and in for the Mozzie. Honestly, I think the Wamai was probably your best decision there because you were able to counteract that utility early. And you're swapping out the Warden when you just took on a Blitz and you know it's a still possibility. Now, granted, it's not here, and they're bringing sets of flashes, 3 of them to be specific, alongside a couple smokes of reveal. But you go for the Legion instead. Is that to try and counter out the Blitz instead of the Warden?
Maybe?
Undetermined.
Undetermined. But it at least gives you a little bit more coverage and a little bit more insight to the parts you're not really able to hold gun up. Now, granted, everyone here from Coastal Gaming, outside of Resided, who is the Legion, mind you, that we were just pointing out, is on the complete opposite end of the bomb site, while everyone else is bunkering down hard onto the bomb site itself, or at least holding onto the extremities of it. Now, Scoop, holding a cutoff into the middle long angle from construction is going to make things very difficult for Resided to make it back to the bomb site safely. He's going to have to go from down below if he actually wants to do that without actually taking that heads-up gunfight. But at this point, Coastal Gaming seem primed to just hold on to the bomb site with these mirror windows and the utility they have in pocket currently.
with 100 seconds left, it hasn't been Wanted Goons making so many strides. Russ is sprinting outside. He almost finds ahead of one, almost a second as well. But he'll have to retreat, and in doing so, he's making sure it's through what they currently have in control. Gav wants to try and walk through if he can find the positioning to do so. C4 to create the space. This is perfect. He swings off of it and finds two in the process. What a combination of utility. It is a pseudo smoke at that same process, and it turns into a double kill. Xer just gets dusted. He ends up finding the un-ADS trade headshot, but he dies anyway. And Scoob now needs to 1v3 on the Blackbeard. I've seen crazy things. I don't think I've ever seen a Blackbeard clutch.
Certainly not since when he was in his prime era of just pure domination of the shield just being 800 HP. That's probably the last time I've really consistently seen it. But Scoob, at this point, just lost all control of his teammates, has no way of really covering because he's just the guy that's holding cutoffs. At this point, everyone comes down to just that prime pure push onto the bomb site, and with that C4 just perfectly baiting that out, that just gives all the room to run and just kind of run on out, take that gunfight, and then just annihilate that entire attacking setup. So now, Scoob is just probably going to have to effectively call a timeout here. He's just going to be wasting time for his teammates to kind of talk things out, because going into round 10 with down on match point, that's going to be very tough onto what was expected to be their kind of map, but he's actually trying to make a prime effort. He's actually deep in, and it's going to be immediately shut down by Russ.
He found a kill.
He found
probably one he should have picked up. Hot take on Blackbeard, by the way, while we're on the subject, because I don't think Blackbeard's going to be picked again. I don't think that Blackbeard should be slowed down when he has a shield equipped. I don't. Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense. It also doesn't make any sense that you run faster with a pistol out. It just doesn't. You're still carrying the gun just in your back pocket or strapped to your back. Rather than
don't question the game logic, Dan. It's just a video game.
Okay.
Don't take it so serious.
I know, but when it affects my ADS time, it annoys me. And my speed, because, everybody likes to play 3 speeds nowadays. But, I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Coastal Gaming on to map point to start things off. Again, this is their map selection. Wanted Goons decided to ban second with their higher seed. They got the opportunity to select it, and they chose second. It also means they pick map 2, and technically they pick the decider because they ban the final map. So that's the advantage of doing so. But the problem is they don't pick side on either of the final 2 maps, where Coastal Gaming, their defense hasn't been flawless, but it's looked about as close to it as you can get, considering they've only lost a single round.
Yeah, and I mean, that one round they lost was just a great kind of take coming in from Wanted Goons to just kind of group up onto the bathroom player and then just kind of annihilate him from there. Ever since then, though, it's just kind of like Coastal Gaming is just like, all right, we know how to play this. We have the right guns. We have the right setups. We just need to actually win these gunfights out. And they've been doing that almost every single round. The first round on defense started off as a flawless round, where it's just Wanted Goons could barely step into the building, and then they just got shut out. Now, going back down to the basement, where they previously got shut out, and it was flawless the previous round, Coastal Gaming are looking really hot at this point, and I start to worry about the overall momentum. Even though we're going into what would be Wanted Goons' second map pick and their choice, there's a lot to be said about how Coastal Gaming has gone into this, because this has been their most decisive game to this point. I mean, every other game has been, really close, and this is, the complete opposite of that.
So, in order, Coastal Gaming played in Upper Round 1, Winner's Match, and Decider Match. They played a total of 4 maps. Their overall round differential, their best round differential was 2. They had a 7-5 win over Bros. They had 2 8-6 victories over Bros. And they had an 8-7 loss to Team Valkyrie. They have not had a match or map decided by any less than individual rounds, or the closest it possibly could have been without going to all 15. So, the fact that Wanted Goons just hasn't really been a participating party here on Club. A map, by the way, that has been played already against Bros in the opening round, so there's verifiable background on the team. You gotta wonder what happens for Wanted Goons, and now what happens in this round. There's 90 seconds left, and they have very little open.
I mean, that's not helping with the fact that Russ is on the tuber route. They do eventually get that stock hatch open, so I'm pretty sure that's almost every single hatch open. I'm not sure exactly about kitchen just yet, but they have the very important ones, and it looks like they're trying to set up for an execute towards blue, or at least get some of the utility out of the way. Russ is going to toss out some of the more of those Zoto canisters, trying to slow things down, but is this enough? Minute left, and one of Goons need to pick up the pace, get some ground control.
No, and the only utility they've thrown down is in front of a warden. That smoke dissipates. Scoob has been seen, whether it's through a mirror or otherwise. 50 seconds left. Where's the push? Wanted Goons have expended most of their utility over towards the blue side. They drop into Memo, and Engage is absolutely done with this map, taking out the first and really forcing Wanted Goons to tunnel in that direction. They decide to go elsewhere, though, and without much help to do so. Scoob wins the first fight. That lack of a smoke makes Gav susceptible to that opening fight, but a reswing from Resided finds one, wants a second with the shotgun in hand. He'll swing off the back of the melee. He doesn't do any damage with the shot, but Reveal finds a kill in the process. That crossfire ends up being the decisive factor. And with 15 seconds, a 2 versus 3, lack of info, and a lack of positional advantage, it's Exer alone. He finds the trade, but nothing more. Coastal Gaming, their best map yet, comes in map 1 of the quarterfinals, as they'll go up 1-0.
I mean, and what a statement way to do it against one of Goons, who surprised everyone in Element 2 and now are struggling against Coastal Gaming, who had to qualify their way in. This is an invited team against a qualified team, and they're losing the first map 3-7. Granted, it's not their map pick, but still, losing it this decisively is never a great sign for a team of high caliber like one of Goons. Coastal Gaming, surprising me at the very least. I don't know about you, Dan, but this has been very shocking to say the least on how well they played so far.
So Coastal Gaming, a 7-3 victory. Their offense alone went up 4-2, and their defense had a pretty successful 3-1 second. They did nearly everything right. They made the adjustments when required. And notably enough, they even made adjustments, albeit slight, when they knew their opponents were going to do the same. I want to throw you back to round 6. The Echo swap, the Smoke swap, they were in anticipation of another Osa, a similar play and through the Ash Wall, and yet it's a swap onto a Blitz, a Capitao. And it ends up working where they barely push down the main stairs because they knew that's where we're going to get countered. I love the playstyle swap, and honestly, great start for the team.
Yeah, I mean, great showcase from Coastal Gaming, just kind of showing a little bit of their overall grander strategies coming in, because we didn't see that a ton. It was just mostly, all right, I'm going to swing this solo, and I'm going to win those fights against Bros Without Hose. Did that very well, but they're actually showcasing that they have some strategical prowess against one of Goons, and going into Chalet, which is their most played map so far, is definitely having me very excited to see how they play this.
I was going to bring that up. Chalet is not something that is unfamiliar to the Coastal squad. They lost at 8-7 to Team Valkyrie. They then redeemed themselves up against, again, the same Bros team they had beat prior and won that map 8-6. They've played it twice. They've gone to OT twice. They are dead even at 1-1 on the map. Who will break that best of 3? And will this best of 3 end up going to all 3? We'll find out when we come back. Game number 1 goes Coastal Gaming's way, a 7-3 victory on their own map selection of Clubhouse. Wanted Goons, maybe they just need a warm-up, maybe it's just not their map. Chalet is on the cards, but here's Clubhouse by the numbers in our first map of the quarterfinals.
And I mean, just looking at the stats overall, 4 players above 100 rating for Coastal Gaming, and then looking at Wanted Goons, Exer, the only one sitting right above it at 139. I mean, just talk about it just from a pure statistical standpoint, talk about a way huge margin of difference just overall for both of these teams, because I mean, Exige and Reveal's really struggling to really help their team out and not really do much for as far as cost goes. And then on the other end, everybody from Coastal Gaming is contributing in some factor. Gav Runnin is contributing 50% of the time, and everyone else almost entirely contributing almost every single round they're in. And I mean, that's really all you can say about it, is just that Coastal Gaming are doing much more to help their team out, get them into a prime position to win, and then Wanted Goons not really able to do the same thing. They really need to, kind of like you said, wake up, try to figure out what went wrong, and do it very quickly, because Chalet is going to be their only chance to make it to map 3 at this point.
Wanted Goons also brought a lot more variety to their attacking side, which I really wanted to focus on. They not only played for some of those just ragtastic type of rounds, but on other occasions, they gave themselves opportunity around utility, around positioning, around some primary utility like Talon Shields, where they picked the Osa up in 2 separate instances of a bottom floor defense. First time successful, second one not so much. Ironically enough, the first one didn't get the diffuser down, second one
Yeah, that's funny.
About as backwards as it gets, but sure, it worked. But moving into Chalet, that diversity not as available. A lot of these positions are held down from multiple different angles. There's going to be a few more C4s and readily available swinging angles into Chalet, and as we head into Chalet, the question remains, can Wanted Goons make the necessary swaps? Notably, Wanted Goons will start on the attacking side. Coastal Gaming had the side selection, and they understandably choose defense. Notably, they also have side selection on Coastline, Consulate, not Coastline.
Yeah, that's not a map pool anymore.
Don't mind. I miscasted Coastline, don't misplaying it. But they have side selection on Consulate, and they will start defense there as well, should it be required.
Also, I didn't really point it out until just now that we're seeing all 3 C maps in the map pool currently. That's kind of funny. Don't typically see that too often.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Even when Coastline was in the map pool.
I mean, yeah.
I may have seen it once or twice, but
maybe once or twice, but it's not that common
in recollection. Yeah. One thing that is common is Ying being banned. Wow, on today's episode of Surprising Nobody, the 10 p.m. edition, which is 45 minutes, the idea, Ying is banned. Flores being banned, again, a little bit more surprising. That second slot, always up in the air. Flores is viable, Habana is viable. I've seen Brava banned consistently on Chalet. A little bit surprised it's Brava and not Flores. But we saw Flores picked a little bit more by Coastal Gaming, so maybe it makes sense. I don't know.
I mean, just looking at the overall ban statistics for this map, Ying being the primary one, obviously, followed closely behind by Brava and Flores, and then lastly is Dokkaebi, I think at like 1 time banned. So overall, it's not too surprising to see these bans come out. Azami, another one that's just like, okay, can we just get on with something a little bit more exciting other than bans? Because, I mean, it's just this pure defaults. We're just getting rid of all the good things for this map. And overall, it's just kind of a snooze fest as far as ban phase goes. But otherwise, I think this is going to be a very interesting game, because Coastal Gaming played this twice already in the regular group stage and did a very good job against Bros at Hose about establishing cutoffs on their attacks and making sure to kind of group everything down to the bomb site itself. Granted, they're starting on defense to start things off, so we'll have to wait to see that later, but that does give you a prime example of just how well they know this map to just be sure that they can confidently hold those things and then excel upon that, just swarming everything like we saw in Clubhouse.
So notably, Fenrir is available, as we saw in the previous map. We'll most likely get a little bit more playtime when Wanted Goons go onto the defense. It will really allow them to prevent some of the more phantom pressure-based advantages that Coastal was using on their attacking side. So wait for the second half for a little bit more Fenrir. We did see Coastal pick up Fenrir a couple times, but nothing that was at least directly recognizable as a hindrance to Wanted Goons. My question still remains, what does Wanted Goons change? They were just playing on the attacking side. We just saw them picking it up. What are the variations they will bring to a map like Chalet after getting, I'm going to say it, dusted on Clubhouse? Because Coastal Gaming
yeah,
seemed
sure.
very comfortable.
That's definitely a fair statement to say, because I mean, dusted they did, and it was just kind of the thing I'd like to see change for them is just not necessarily a strategical change, but just a more of, hey, play around your teammates a little bit more, because some rounds it just seemed like people were off on their own or kind of not near enough each other to trade things out, or at least have a possibility to do so and play around their team a bit more. Because the one round they did win on their attack, they looked phenomenal in the way they went about it. Everyone was in the right spots, able to get into a position to help each other out. And I mean, looking at this right now, Reveal is coming in from the complete opposite side of the map, but it seems like it's a bit more group-focused effort onto the main push. But does Sided actually know that this came from Trophy Side? Or no, he's actually down in the basement. The outlines were a bit weird a second ago.
Yeah, Resided should know because he heard a barricade pop and he heard a second. He was trying to figure out which one the second one was, and that was Big Garage. They popped the Echo location. It's unsuccessful. But I want to bring this up. We saw this, I don't know, like 20 seconds ago. Right now, look, it is a reinforced hatch, and it's electrified. I was wondering where the Cade was being brought and why. It's for the library hatch right now, and there is only impact EMPs on 2 players that can take care of it, and they'd have to dedicate 2 Selmas to drop that hatch. I'd be very surprised if that's the usage of that utility.
I mean, it's gonna be the only real opportunity they get unless Exige comes in from the basement, which does seem that's exactly what he's doing. Gonna probably try to open up that stock wall, but he didn't even open it!
Oh, no.
He didn't use a single Selma, now he's the first one dead! So that goes completely against what you wanted to start off with, and you can't even go for the main take you were trying to go for.
Notably enough, the sound prevention has been removed. Even with Reveal walking forward, you can crouch walk all you want while holding down your walk key. You are just as loud as any other 3-speed would be, just invisible to observation utility. That's the difference maker that Nook now is. With a minute 15 seconds, this round basically over. Joddles finds a C4 through the floor and a 2v5. You have information as to where one may be, definitive information. There's at least 2 on the site. That's about all the info they can walk away with, and they're out of echo scans. They have some utility on the Capitao, but it's, we'll say, inconsequential to understate the obvious. Xer finds 1, but still needs to find their way in, and they can't do so from the library hatch because, again, it's reinforced. Scoob swinging towards Piano. Wait a second, there's a second kill. Recited's down. It's a 3v2.
Only 38 seconds left, though, in the round, and Coastal Gaming look like they have the main control that they want to still hold on to this for the rest of the round. Reminder, they still don't have library hatch open, so stock is going to be safe for the rest of the round. So whoever's sitting back there looks like it's running, or is going to be holding on to it for the rest of the round, and they have to go straight in past the castle setups, but Scoop gets another one, though.
What, they don't drone out Joddles. Oh my goodness, he swings with the 44 and he finds the follow-up. He missed 4 shots from a slug shotgun and decides to swing iron sights on the Magnum, and it works. Xer now 1v2. He's no way winning this round, and Joddles will not miss another shot with the TCSG. Speaking of CSG, they win round 1.
I mean, that was a much closer round than I would have expected coming into that, deciding how dominantly they were looking in that first to middle part of that round. But Coastal Gaming cleaned things up in just in a beautiful way of doing so, because those castle barricades really messed one of Goons up. They kind of locked them into a certain pathway, really kind of limited their options to kind of play that late game potential where they can't really group up together whatsoever, because if you kill that 45 player of the guy who just nearly missed everything until he pulled out the big Magnum, that was the kind of big crutch of that round, is just they can't group up. I kind of already talked about it. I wanted to see them kind of group up, and so many of those kills were just one by one by one, and completely opposite of where the last player died from, aside from the first 2. Just everybody else dying on their own and not able to help each other out is just a big problem so far for Wanted Goons. They just can't seem to get together and be a group conceded effort. Coastal Gaming showcasing that you can still do that and play guns up and play around the strategy at the same time. They just are playing better Siege at the moment. It's just going to be flat out the way it is right now.
So, Wanted Goons attack has some adjustments to be made, and they are. They're keeping the line, which I like. Exige is swapping onto the Grim, and they are going for absolutely zero primary hard breach utility. Actually, correct myself. There is zero hard breach utility, period, end of story. They are running for pure soft breachability on 2 players with weaponry alone. They don't even have soft breach primary or secondary utility, by the way, except for maybe shotguns on 1 or 2 players. And they're going for information. They want that echolocation from the Lion. They love the bees, the calls, and the hacking from the Brava in order of Grim, Nokabi, and Brava in that order. And you have to wonder, is there going to be an adjustment quickly enough? Recited has the C4 out. What comes of it, though, that's the real question. He's been seen. C4 will go through, but thrown on the wrong side of the windowsill, it'll find absolutely nothing but thin.
And he's kind of pinned himself into a corner. He's going to need some help very soon if he wants to actually survive this entire encounter, because even though the nades have been nerfed, Exarch can still toss one in, at least force him away. So if they actually toss it in very soon, or at least send Grims his way, Recited is in a very tough spot. But at this point, he's not really even being pressured. They're just kind of leaving him alone for the time being. Yeah, the call's going out. You already know he's there. Just do something about him. But it seems that Goons are trying to go completely opposite of this.
And Mendez is just walking in. He's got a hollow on the Mark 14 and is prone behind the piano. He's safe for the time being, but a kill onto 1, re-swing onto a second, say goodbye to Exige, and reveal, blink and you miss it, 90 seconds gone in the round, and the round itself is gone just the same. Reveals in a 1 versus 5. He's picked up a first. Nasty shot onto Gav. Can he find any more? That's the real question. He's been seen, noted, and it's the Para versus the AR-15. How well can Reveal do with 5 bullets left in his primary weapon? He's being baited to no end, and he doesn't have ammo in the Super Shorty. It's Choddles with his own active, and the round for CSG. 2-0 to start Chalet.
And just another brutal way to lose that entire round, just due to the fact that you can't kill the player who is just stuck in a corner. You have the advantage in that scenario. Recited can't go anywhere, but all of a sudden, he just swings out. The piano push is also being denied at the same time, and he just wins that gunfight onto the solar window player who knew he was there the whole time. They try to make an adjustment, realize that maybe solar isn't the best play to go for, but don't really have a way to deal with the Fenrir mines, even though they have all the utility to take care of it. They have a Brava to take care of it. It's just a matter of they didn't take care of it in the first place. They just kind of rushed things ahead of themselves and lost because of that. Goons trying to go with the same steps that they found success with before, but not going through all the steps needed to actually make that a possibility.
Seriously, though, why do you walk Nokabi into piano while you have 2 people repelled on the window in Solarium, no other window, and you're just not winning gunfights? You'd think that, oh yeah, hey, let's walk Nokabi in after we win a gunfight and they're looking a different direction, or after we've droned out a dread mine, or after we've hacked a dread mine. How do they just not do anything with the preset utility that they can just actively drone out and then walk a player in isolated while making all the noise and sound cues and information utility-based cues in the world? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't think I'll ever find that answer. There's also a fuse, so my life is complete. This stream's over. Thank you very much for joining us. Other quarterfinals tomorrow.
Well,
I've seen it all. Wait, are they going to do the Astralis thing?
I would have to imagine that's going to be
no
what
way
they're
they don't.
doing for. There's no way, right? But I mean, look at how much they're going to actually have to clear in order to get to that spot, because there's 2 roamers at this point, one over towards stock and the other completely over towards trophy, and one still up top in mezzanine. So there's a lot of space that Goons are going to have to clear in order for Reveal to actually go for the Astralis fuse trick. So they need to do their due diligence, and already over 40 seconds wasted in the round. It's going to be tough considering they do not have any time to waste at this point. And what?
Engage lives through it. He needs to get out of dodge safely. They will be able to get off a second Zoto canister. Engage, if he puts down the bandit battery quickly enough, he can get it away. Twitch drone will go through, but it'll deny that usage of the Zoto canister, and they don't detect the Twitch drone. Engage is on 1 health. He's somehow not dead to the first shot, and they still have some top floor control with Gav. For some context, the Astralis Fuse strat, despite what you may think, Fuse is not a random RNG operator. The charge is very meticulous with where it goes, and if you repeat the strat on the top floor, you can actually take out some utility and or players if you force themselves in. Engage, by the way, doesn't have a C4. They may very well plant on the close wall, but for some reason the Osa isn't in that same conversation. They've just now walked into the building, and they're stuck alone. 1-for-1 trade. Mendez is dead elsewhere. Engage should have a sound cue, but Joddles can't swing this safely without a C4 of his own. Say goodbye to Exige. And a 1 versus 4 now required of the least picked operator of the lot. There goes one fuse charge. It's successful. My day is complete. But reveal is still not great.
It's just going from bad to worse for Wanted Goons. I mean, they try to go for a very quick execute, and things do not work out, but hey, he made this a certain possibility. If he gets this blue player out of the way, he heard him go prone.
Bait. Is it successful to spray? Reveal does damage, but nothing onto the actual player. He just hits walls many more times than he'd like. The wall to his right, by the way, to his left now, is actually unreinforced, and there's a head angle being held from the breach itself. Oh, he's being baited. I don't think he knows about it, but he may. He does damage on the Gav, but he'll run away with the round itself. Coastal Gaming making a statement. Seems like they deserve the invite at the end of the day.
I mean, you would certainly like to say that, considering that going from group stage to now all of a sudden playoffs, all right, now we're monsters. We're just going to be going through this clinical as can be. We're not the team that plays things close, that's all whatsoever. We're going about it as we should. From the very beginning, they showed that they have this possibility within them a couple of times in the group stage games, but just never consistently coming out. Now it's consistently here against Wanted Goons, and Wanted Goons have no answer so far. Not a single timeout has been taken. They're just trying to figure things out on the fly and make sure that they can get at least one round win on the attack before switching over to defense, because right now I'm worried that this may be a 2-4, 2-1-5 kind of split. Like, we'll have to see going into this, because repeating the first bomb site again, we already saw how much of a problem it was for Wanted Goons to start off with. We'll have to see if they make the adaptation and figure things out from there, because right now, they just look so sloppy, Dan. I don't know what the problem is. It's just, something's not clicking for them.
Now, notably, if it's any consolation, while yes, the last time we saw this site, to start it was not very close, towards the later stages of the round, it was brought back to a 2v2. So by no means was it outside the realm of normality. It wasn't something that's absurd for them to pick up. But it's still something to be concerned about if you're Coastal Gaming. This is a round that you've had some difficulties with in the past. You're bringing an extremely similar composition, if not, I believe, a carbon copy. It is a carbon copy to what we saw last time they played Bar Gaming. This is a little uncommon. Like I said, they've made some adjustments even when they don't have to. On this occasion, they're going with the exact same setup. They say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but it could artificially be broken because Wanted Goons figure out what the counter is, and one of those is a sledge.
Good call, and definitely a way to open up the bomb site if you don't open up the hatch directly itself. It at least gives you more options to kind of peek your way into the bomb site, make sure that you're kind of restricted towards stock, especially Ronin, who was holding down the bomb site entirely last round. If Xer can actually open up that stock wall from Garage this time around, they will be in prime position to utilize that sledge to actually get him into a bad spot, and they can then kill him, try to go for a window plant, but it's a matter of getting to that step. They struggled to get here before in the previous round, but they've already got library controlled, at least to start things off. We'll have to see if they can do anything with it, though.
There are two C4s. The C4s thus far for Coastal, by the way, have been used to great effect. I don't think a single one has missed by a considerable distance. We've seen one look good, and oh my goodness, it's not going to matter. Who needs C4s? Okay. Who needs explosive? They individually are explosive just with weaponry. It is hard breachers alone in a 2 versus 5. Hey, good news though, game changer, they've opened the hatch.
And it's a 2v5 though. So really, and they have even less control than they had the previous time we saw this bomb site. There's just one player lurking down the library stairs. He's going to get swung on completely uncontested by anybody else. Xers all alone in the basement. At this point, just call the timeout, man. There's nothing harm by doing so. Just make sure you get at least a round under your belt, because right now, I'm not sure with the way they're playing that's going to be able to do so. I think I can see a timeout being called.
Yes.
The HUD is being slightly blocked by it, but regardless, I think it is finally coming in.
Yeah, timeout is called by the team. That, for some reason, is supposed to show up in the kill feed, not where it did behind the overarching HUD. But sure, that works. Exer, at this point, now is the time to just run back into your spawn. You know you're not winning this round. He's obviously not made a concerted effort. You can turn what is a 1-minute timeout or a 45-second timeout, I haven't read the rulebook, into what could be like a minute 45 or something a little bit better. The extent of what you're doing right now is not only A, hurting your team, but B, you're just breaking your own KD, at least maybe successfully. He goes 1. It doesn't really matter. But Wanted Goons, they just have not won straight-up gunfights. And the problem is, they're forcing their team into a position where they need to win straight-up gunfights, or they just don't have a shot at the round. That round, for instance. What? Also, side note, they have 8 kills as a team through 4 rounds. I feel like that's notable.
That is certainly notable, and I was about to say, it's just like, okay, it seems like, oh, winning your gunfights is such a lazy point. I hate bringing it up, but right now it is certainly the case. Not a single person really is able to get a kill consistently. Reveal is 4-4 currently, and I'm pretty sure he's mostly playing hard breach for the most part. Right now, that's not great. If your hard breach is out killing everybody else on your team, that's not a great sign. Coming from a hard breach player myself. Everyone else on Coastal Gaming, though, is firing on all cylinders. Recited and Run-In aren't having to contribute as much because they haven't been able to see nearly as much. I mean, Run-In has only died once. That's kind of ridiculous going into round 5. But overall, just something seriously needs to change for Wanted Goons, and I don't know if it's just a synergy thing, is it a strategy thing, because right now, they're trying to go about it so many different ways. They try to go for a rush, they try to go for a very slow take. None of them have worked so far. Something desperately needs to happen here going to round 5. Otherwise, this may be a clean sweep on the first half.
I think maybe is even stretching it. I think it will be a clean sweep. This singular round right here, I think, will decide things. Because going to the top floor, if you see Wanted Goons pick this up on the first floor, then they have an opportunity to span what is a top floor extension anyway into follow-up round success. But if they either A, lose this round by a considerable margin, or B, force themselves into the exact same situation they've basically done for the last 3, where it is, hey, we have a very marginal opportunity to get in. Let's forget the rest of our keybinds and just hold W. And forget also to rebind mouse 1 so we can win gunfights. What do? The answer is just lose the round. Coastal Gaming have been more than comfortable. They've also made a slight alteration to this first floor defense. We're seeing the Maestro being brought alongside that Mira. More information, more plant denial, put it over an open hatch, and you basically got a free round, I'm going to say. Because there's a Brava. So there could be a counter to that. I'm gonna hold my tongue until both Brava drones are dropped.
10 seconds remaining.
And I do want to make a small correction to a statement I made earlier. I said Reveal might have been playing the most hard breach operators. No, he's been playing the most fragging operators. So I rescind that statement. But still, the point is that only one player is even right now. Everyone else has been negative or hasn't even gotten a kill yet. That's not great overall. Going into this, I think it's a very similar kind of lineup to what we saw for Coastal Gaming. Just a few minor shakeups, and Maestro is an interesting one because that just gives you a lot of information, but with a Brava on the board, that's also more opportunities for her to get in more information for her own side and use it against the defense. So they need to be very careful about this, but it's a very different kind of setup for right now for Wanted Goons. They're going about it from a library side take standpoint and making sure they can actually get some of this control, set up some of these cutoffs, and then work their way to the bomb site instead.
So breach charge used on a castle barricade. Autos just heard it go off, and we had the sound cue of at least the voice slide. So Exige will use 1, set up the second, but that's very much given over to Recited. Watch this jump out. If it's used at the wrong time, Recited could have just jumped out, or he takes 70 damage.
I thought he was about to die.
He didn't even
for a
jump
second.
out!
I thought he was about
What?
to die. No lie, I thought he was about to die. I was like, better watch how close you're standing to that, buddy. That's a very dangerous way to kind of go about that. But right now, that just seems to be phantom pressure being applied by Exige, but it's not really mattering because Recided's still peaking even after losing that much damage earlier on. And Wanted Goons still waiting to get in towards actually taking that top floor because Engage sitting down below. It's going to go for a C4. No!
Oh, and another one hits. Mendez dies. Say goodbye to your Brava. Mendez is Owen. And that's not his first name. Exige Also, Owen, again, not his first name, at least I'd presume. There's a chance where it's either one of them, but I'd be very surprised. He does have the lock on the Mira, who's basically isolated themselves into the default position. They're being droned actively. But look at all the utility and time that's dedicated to this fight, and they end up winning a follow-up fight. Exige dies. It's a 2 versus 4. There's a minute left on the clock, and they have negligible utility. A nade, 3 Finka stims, and a single exothermic charge, alongside 3 flashes, but they're probably not.
I mean, and they have a Maestro cam and a mirror window staring right at them from very far away. They don't have the utility to take care of it. They're just gonna have to kind of run on in, take care of this however they really possibly can, because there's really no options left. Everyone here is grouped up on the bomb site or holding angles from up above, and that's going to be exactly it. Reveal's just going to run deep in, but he's going to die because, I mean, there's just nothing you can do, man. There's just nothing.
Now, and Xer 1 versus 4. I've seen, again, crazy things. Thermite 1 versus 4 with 10 seconds is not going to be added to that tally. There are 2 players up above, 1 sitting behind the Mira, and there's still the active Evil Eye to his right, which, by the way, the Brava did nothing with. Coastal Gaming are up 5-0, and Wanted Goons have not won a round, let me grab my stopwatch, in about 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not great. I mean, we were talking about how this may be a flawless half, and that just made it even significantly closer possibility. Now, they called a timeout, and we're not able to convert on a round, and it honestly looked just as bad as their previous round before then. I don't know what exactly has been happening for Wanted Goons, because this is not the same team that we saw in Element. I hate harping back onto it, but this is just not the same team. They're not playing nearly as coordinated. They're not playing nearly as loose. They seem very just kind of rigid and just kind of like, okay, I'm scared to make a mistake now. Granted, you're 5-0 down. It's understandable, but at the same time, you're known for the team being loose and aggressive, getting in the faces, but you're letting Coastal Gaming do that to you instead. They're the ones being aggressive, getting in your faces, and just doing the wackiest things you can normally see out of a game that's otherwise more defensive oriented and just more strategic overall. What is happening on the Goons right now?
So everybody loves some context. Let's give them some for at least a second while I have the availability to. Wanted Goons, as you said, played inside of E2. Of that team, Deadly, who was in chat earlier, was on that squad. So too was Zim. But Scoob, Mendez, and Exige were also on the roster. And as I look at the subs, Xer was one of them, who did play in a couple games. So keep that in mind. 4 of the, we'll say 6 rostered players from E2 are currently active here in our spring burst. In E2, they beat Karn & Co. 7-4. They lost to Space Station Academy 7-5. They had a forfeit win over Santa Negra, and they 2-0'd Osiris. Of those teams, by the way, Karn & Co. then beat them in the quarterfinals and went on to lose in grand finals. Space Station Academy lost in semifinals to the then subsequent winners, and then Santa Negra and Osiris, we'll say, didn't have the greatest of finishes. Osiris lost in round 5, and Santa Negra lost in the same position. By the way, there's an opening kill that again goes Coastal Gaming's way. By the way, I brought up the tally after round 4 of total kills. It was 8. On the bright side, it's now 9.
Progress, people. Progress. We're seeing something. It's not much, but it's something. And that may be entirely it, because now you already lost one of your heart breachers on a site where it's very important to have both of them up, if you can, and there's still the roam presence being established by Coastal Gaming, and Wanted Goons still trying to hold on to whatever they can. They're trying to go for a bullet side hit, but at this point, they just need to get something going, because Doddles is in prime position to stall that out for way longer. They're already at minute 15. Ooh. There's not much left. Engage is going to be forced back, so that's going to be something, and Scoop is actually going to get one onto the site.
just walk in. He wants a second onto Jottles. He'll find it. Player advantage for Wanted Goons for the first time in a calendar year. They have sight control as well. Engage wanted to go for feet. He's not Jekyll, nor is he nearly as successful. But he's going to actively swing, and he drops the diffuser before the flashbang pops. How in the world does that work? And they find a follow-up onto the Ash who got overzealous. Gav in an off angle. Russ, completely isolated, is perfectly fine with being so. And Engage is off on his own inside of blue. No active C4s available, and there is a top-down hold there inside of Dining, so the diffuser will indeed be planted, but Engage is walking in, and nobody's holding him. They haven't been able to get out of the diffuser planting position. There's one from Engage. He's got info on the second, and Mendez is forced back. They may end up going for the kill at the same time, but Mendez plays the vault. The off angle works. Wanted Goons have won a round.
What just happened? I don't even know. Somehow, Wanted Goons looked in great position. Scoob running into the bomb site, getting all the kills, getting prime position to let the plant go down pillar, and then somehow subsequently lost almost all of that control in the same moment. I don't know how they still managed to hold on to that. Thank God for the guy sitting on Dining Hatch, because otherwise I don't know if they'd still win that round. So, I need to breathe, Dan. I need to breathe. I need to take a moment.
So,
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that this tech pause is definitely somebody accidentally threw their headset because they finally won a round. And they're like, wait, we need to be able to hear them. Pause.
Pause.
For legal reasons, that's probably not true, but it would be hilarious.
It would be.
But Wanted Goons finally pick up a round. And even then, they almost threw it away, by the way. They had a 4v3. They didn't let the flash pop. They didn't push with a teammate for some extra sight pressure. They didn't plant a safe position, even though they could have done so on default. They decide, oh yeah, hey, let's plant at a pillar when we don't have blue control anymore because our asphyxiation bolt went away. Why? That alone was surprising. And then Engage walks in, isn't being held, even though they still have the vertical angle onto the backside of the pillar. So why is the Capital watching it? But Engage runs out of ammo. If Engage doesn't run out of ammo, I sincerely believe this is 6-0 and we're probably looking at a done game. But Wanted Goons are on the board. That's the good news. The bad news is Coastal Gaming is going on to the attacking side, which thus far has about a 55-54% win rate, and just picked up 4 of 6 attacking rounds back on club. So, Wanted Goons are not out of the woods just yet.
Not yet. It's looking like they're getting closer to being still stuck in the woods, but I digress. One round on the attack isn't the most horrible thing in the world. If we talked about this like way back in the day, this would be kind of normal because teams were still figuring out how to attack this map, but still. At this point in the overall meta for Chalet, 1-5-half is never a good thing, but still, it's at least something that they can build off of. If they can get their defenses going, rather, they can start to build some of these pieces to mount a comeback, but I think at this point they're going to have to be perfect. There's going to be very little mistakes being allowed for them because Coastal Gaming are just firing on all cylinders. Not a single thing has really gone wrong for them outside of that one round, because everything else has gone exactly how they wanted to. Wanted Goons are pushing in exactly where they were wanting them to go. Coastal Gaming are primed and ready to take care of that because that's where they planned on them going in the first place. Now Wanted Goons on the attack defender half can force Coastal Gaming to do the exact same thing, but I would have to imagine in a very different way of doing so.
Bomb located by attackers.
So, what is the development for Wanted Goons? Their defensive side back on club needed work. And I think they'll agree with me on that. They lost 4-2. Their bottom floor, we'll say, wasn't weak, but was certainly susceptible. And the alterations they made were immediately countered. It's, hey, we've swapped, but you're swapping at the same time, and it ends up being you who trumps us in that same conversation. How does Coastal Gaming make swaps down the line? They have a lot more availability to make mistakes. They have many more mulligans than they would have otherwise. They only need to win 2 rounds. You can play the entire first half of this second half, lose every round, and say, oh yeah, hey, let's pick up 2 of these sites, figure out what went wrong on each of them, and win the game.
That's definitely going to be some room for them because, I mean, like you said, they can make some mistakes, but given how they've been going about it so far is certainly going to be interesting. And are you serious right now, Exige? How do you lose that?
I've just stopped asking that question. I've just accepted it at this point.
Uh,
Opening kill again, picked up by Coastal Gaming. I haven't been taking notes on opening kills for like the first time in a week, but it's probably going Coastal Gaming's way. That's my perspective. It's just looking a lot better for them. And Wanted Goons have been playing catch-up on more junctures than they can afford. Mendez has an open floor to their right. That is an angle towards the window inside a trophy. Not directly, but certainly susceptible to it, should it be noted. The walk-in through Big Garage, it's being held, and Gav wins the fight? Scoob had a punch hole on the other side of Highway, and he loses the duel. Recited does the same. Finally, Reveal gets Wanted Goons on the board. But in the process, they've lost everything in the kitchen sink. C4 lands short, it finds nothing, and Mendez is noted, but he does at least find a kill in the process. What can he do with it? That's the real question. He walks into Track Stingers, and he finds a follow-up. Wait a second, it's a 2v2.
Way more possible considering the fact that Coastal Gaming are now spread out. One player's all the way over towards Solar Side and Engage, pushing Piano all by his lonesome. He may find a pick onto a player. Yasha has a ping. He's going to get the first one, and he's going to swing and get the second. Misses out on the opportunity. Gets it down to a 1v1, but does enough damage to get Mendez down to 50 HP.
Breaking that mirror, though, that is disastrous for him. He had the angle he needed to work with, but instead, now he could be blind. The walk-in could be so well-timed, running, trying to sprint his way through, live up to his name, but he's missed the timing. Mendez peeks behind the wall, will find the timing as Gav swings the far side of Piano, and finally Wanted Goons have a streak. Back-to-back rounds to close the first and open the second half, and now we start to think otherwise.
I mean, if Mendez doesn't shut down that solar push, that's certainly a round for Coastal Gaming. The fact that he got 2 kills over on that side separated those last 2 players for Coastal because Zophia's just having to kind of run on in through Piano. It has the information on one, but doesn't know where Mendez is. That separation cost the Coastal Gaming just a little bit because they can't group up on them. They can't go about it the normal way they have been of just, all right, we have the information, let's swing this double onto him, and then they can't do anything about it. Wanted Goons took perfect advantage of that, and Mendez just going huge in that round, gave them another round win that they desperately need, but I would still like to see some improvements, but at least there's something now.
I think the improvements need to span from the team as a whole rather than individuals. I've said this forever, and I will continue to say this until I no longer have a mic to do so. Individual prowess is nice to fall back on. If an individual pops off, it's amazing, especially when they're in a clutch situation. However, not only are clutches statistically uncommon, but individual pop-offs cannot be consistently relied upon, because you lose so much more if you rely on A, mechanical skill, or B, individuals with mechanical skill. You will no longer have that consistency of, oh, here's our utility, here's our setup, here's what we fall back on. Clutches and mechanical skill-based round victories should be a last resort, not a reliance. It's nice when they happen, like we just saw.
Yeah.
But Wanted Goons, the odds right now are they probably find one more clutch for the remainder of this half and the subsequent game.
Huh.
I've never seen all 4 reinforcements.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean,
are they going to play it? I think they're playing it.
They're definitely playing it, but the question really is Coastal even going to try to go that way? If they're trying to deny a boiler site hit coming in from Big Garage, that is certainly going to make it a lot harder, but the matter of fact is that Coastal can still go for a direct snowmobile site hit and just not even have to worry about that whatsoever, so Wanted Goons, the question now is, have they wasted too much utility on the complete wrong side of the map?
I feel like it's either A, the wrong side of the map, or B, becomes the correct side of the map because you prevent that side of the take.
That's going to have to be it.
I'm going to say it's not entirely wasted, but it's certainly dedicated in the wrong position. Gav forces the Legion away. The sound cue is there for the drop, but they open up the bar hatch and force at least Reveal to be aware of that position, and he's caught reloading and disengages at the wrong time. Mendez also gets out of Mudroom safely, so the turtle is now on, but with we'll say 100 flat seconds, how reinforced does that shell end up being at the end of the day?
And again, still just going for a very direct hit. They're not even worrying about that big garage side. So Engage just opening up the rest of that wall to make it a run-through hole. Now Reveal in a horrible spot right now. Has to rely upon his teammates, giving him some of that information, giving him a little bit of leeway. But he's being tracked right now. He has all the drones on him. They know exactly where he is. I don't know if they have the utility to take care of him outside of the Capital bolts, but he is in a rough spot right now, so he needs some help from his teammates who are still so spread out right now.
There's no nades. They have all the information they need, and they're 100% sure there's a Legion in that corner. But as of right now, they can't and will not do anything about it. Again, it's just down to the asphyxiation bolts, and Reveal wins the fight on Engage. He was being held in an off angle and ends up at least picking up one. Joddles has to take out a Legion mine and is lucky to get it away while winning the fight against the aforementioned operator. But Xer, he knows there's a player blue and wins the fight as Rust brings him down to just 1 HP. Diffuser no longer easily able to go down. A smoke alongside the asphyxiation bolt will go through, as will a kill onto one, but only one in that same process. Recited is walking through the site, has some space to work with, but not an immediate kill. He at least finds the shoulder of Xer as Joddles finds the head of Mendez. Exige needs to clutch a TCSG, the catalyst, but he has no positional awareness, nor at this point the information as to where the diffuser's going down. It will be the true 1v2, and he has to retake while walking down the fireplace stairs. The worst case scenario for him, no info, and Joddles is on the backside of the bookshelf and has made no noise. I have never seen this position cleared, but he misses the opportunity and gives his position away. It's not gonna matter, he still wins the fight. 6-2, Coastal Gaming on 4 consecutive match and series points.
I mean, and it was such a risky play for one of Goons to invest so many resources over towards that big garage side, because they invested 4 reinforcements. They invested in I believe like 1 or 2 Kai claws to make sure that those walls stay closed. But what did Coastal Gaming do? Recognize that, okay, they're on the complete opposite side of the map. They only have to deal with 1 or 2 roamers. Let's just hit direct and then bring the ram, clear out a lot of those lines of sights over towards Connector and Wine, and we don't have to deal with that whatsoever. Just go into site direct. Yes, it's a very tough play anyways, even regardless of that, but they still make it work. They clear out the 1 roamer of Reveal and then get him into a tough spot where he has to win that first gunfight, immediately trades himself out. One of Goons just kind of didn't really invest into the right opportunities. I'm not saying that the read was wrong at first, because, I mean, it did slow down Coastal Gaming quite a lot. It would have been very good if you got them to rotate later, but that was just in the very end of things. Wasted utility that did not really have big contributing factor in the round as a result.
The Wanted Goons will swap their defensive site. Go to Kitchen and Dining. What used to be the #1 site for defenders now is usually around the 2 mark, maybe 3, depending on the squad that's playing. Again, up to preference. But Coastal Gaming have seemingly had an answer to all of the Wanted Goons questions. Whether it's, hey, how do we swap off of anything for vertical pressure? How do we change our defensive lineup to adapt to Coastal Gaming's attack? Or how do we win a round or win a gunfight or win a map?
Yeah.
We'll say it hasn't been great.
It's been less than optimal, I think we should put it. It's probably the nicest way I could probably say it right now, but at this point, Coastal Gaming just looking so dominant. This is complete opposite of what we saw in their group stage games, where every game was so close, everything was just coming down to the wire, and 5 clutches kind of helped them get to that point. At this right now, Wanted Goons are just dealing with a full informed Coastal Gaming who are trying to end this off 7-2 fashion. And right now, they're establishing so many cutoffs. There's really nowhere for these upstairs players to move.
Okay, these are some, I'm going to say weird/nasty angles. Mendez is in a, we'll say, isolated spot. The castle behind Amira, an unreinforced wall towards the window, and a very early coffin. They're gone. And again, an opening kill goes Coastal Gaming's way. Disastrous, I think, is the proper adjective at this point, and just Coastal Gaming have an answer to yet another question posed. Oh, wait. Impact grenade lands. Game changer.
Game changer. That's now 7 out of the 9 rounds going the way of Coastal Gaming as far as the entry goes, and another one on top of that, Run and getting one onto Scoop, and that's the Cases player now dead too. 2 players left for one of Goons. They need to get something going. Reveal's gonna try to find something, but it's all up to Exceed to try to make something happen. Pull his team from the brink of destruction and devastation.
Oh, and he's seen through the floor. He's got one last opportunity, a spray through. It doesn't even find a kill, and Recited will swap to the pistol, somehow living through the opening spray. He'll drop through and drop the game. Wanted Goons find a combined 5 rounds in 2 maps, and Coastal Gaming make a statement as they move themselves on to the semifinals.
Whew. I mean, in a game where Wanted Goons are the clear favorites going into this series so far. I mean, just talk about, wouldn't say that Coastal Gaming by no means should have lost this game, but I mean, I would have expected this to be a lot closer, maybe going to map 3 of Consulate. Not 7-3 and 7-2 by any means. Like, what the hell, man? This is just completely different. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. This is nowhere close to the group stage games we saw. This is a overall dominant Coastal Gaming that we saw tonight.
Something, Consulate could happen. Something, we could see it. Guess not. This is a absolute demolishment of Wanted Goons. And Coastal Gaming, at every juncture, and in nearly every playstyle, win basically every duel. When Wanted Goons wanted to make it a team deathmatch, Coastal Gaming win it. When they want to go for utility-based plant/play, Coastal Gaming win it. When they want to try and slow everything down, go for the 20-second meta, Coastal Gaming win it. And when Coastal Gaming wants to just walk in, do as they please, they will. When they speed things up on the attacking side, as we saw multiple times over, they did. And if they want to try and drop in, use a pistol while rappelling into the big window, and shoot somebody through a hatch, they can do so, because they've won nearly every opening duel in the game. For some context, by the way, that is a 77 or 78% opening kill win rate. Which is statistically improbable, to understate the obvious, and we'll just say feasibly insane when it comes to a game of this stature.
I mean, for a team that excelled in that in Element 2 and just overall just the pure raw aggression, it's just surprising to see that they just didn't even really show up in that category. They were just getting dominated in every single way, like you said. No matter what kind of strategy they went for, whether it's aggression, pure just like slow, kind of take everything methodically, just completely decimated by Coastal Gaming, and just there's just no answers. I don't get it, because they didn't even change all that much. Changed one player going into this. One player. And that's how they look after that.
So you're looking at a first game that was, we'll say, feasibly close. Individual rounds were contentious. The first half was okay. The second one, not terrible, but you combine the two and it's just a disaster in scoreline.
Yeah.
That was the furthest game that Coastal Gaming played from a loss or a close win thus far in the event. They had won in order 7-5, lost 8-7, and won back-to-back 8-6. By the way, the middle 2 of those were both on Chalet. And then they broke their own record on that one, went for a new PB because they could, and then win 7-2 on Chalet, which again, they've played for the 3rd time thus far in the event, and they're now 2-1. This is a great team. And honestly, I was looking at this squad coming up against Wanted Goons and saying, yeah, they're a team coming out of groups. They went 2-1. They lost to JJ and Team Valkyrie. They're probably not in the greatest spot.
Yeah.
My bad. I wasn't familiar with your...
Yeah, it's just, you know, I mean, I considered that like the overall weaker group, but still, they proved me wrong. They showed everyone that, hey, they're not a team to be underestimated anymore. So props to them, honestly. That's just a really impressive showcase.
Well, the showcase, we've got some information to relay to you. Not from us, but from a person from Coastal Gaming. We've got an interview in for our quarterfinals. And I have to say, this is one I'm looking forward to for a couple reasons. Recited, thank you very much for joining us. I got to say, to start things off, we'll say a questionable start to Clubhouse for you guys. You went down 2-1, but you just recollected yourself and made so many adjustments. What was the start of Clubhouse?
Honestly, it was just we knew we were gonna win, so we just went in with full confidence, and it prevailed. Like we've been practicing really hard past few days, and we're working on it. You know, we want it.
You guys made some adjustments moving into, we'll say, rounds 3, 4, and 5 on that attacking side when you started. It just seemed like you went from a TDM meta to trying to play for the utility again, then back to TDM in round 6, just understanding you were the better team. Was it just the confidence, or did you understand there was some gap in the defense as well?
We understood that wanted goons. They are like a more aggressive team, so to counter aggressive, we thought let's play more structured instead of just going into that TDM meta, and it turned out to prevail. And we just, I don't know, it just worked, you know, like yeah.
And you guys just had the mechanical skill diff. Just objectively, you were winning every fight. Opening
honestly,
kills were
just
so much better.
Just confidence
What's it
alone, it helped our team so much. Just when we're fully confident, we're in the we have vibes. We're on demon time.
Well, you guys were on demon time on Chalet. We did the math.
100%.
7 of the 9 rounds played, you won the opening fight. You won so many duels that you had no business being a conversation in, but you ended up walking away with them anyway. What was Chalet like for you, apart from just the confidence and, we're objectively better? Because you guys had so many strats that were just direct counters to whatever wanted goons play.
We that's a hard question.
TLDR, what's Chalet like outside just shooting?
It's just shooting, honestly. If you take the fight to them, you're gonna win.
I mean, it worked for you guys. The TDM
It
meta
did.
really turned up to the max in the last thing. And what was wanted goons that you had at least some concern about? Because naturally you're walking into a game with confidence. You're walking in thinking you're going to win. You have to, or you're going to probably lose. But what was one thing you really wanted to focus on as a factor of wanted goons playstyle to really hinder their effect?
Our teamwork. Teamwork was a really big thing for us that we've been struggling a bit, and the past few days we've been really on our asses, being honest with each other. We're really locked in, trying to improve.
So you're moving to the semifinals. With this win here, you've got a pretty nice spot moving forward. You'll play the winner of Cinta Negra and Team SPL. Any thoughts on either of those two squads? Cinta Negra we haven't really seen outside of LATAM Quals and E2 a little while ago. SPL somewhat new, but as a roster, they are the team of old. Anything?
SPL's a scary team on paper, but we've beaten them before in quals, as shown. We did pretty good against them, and if I'm confident we'll do it again. I'm 100% sure we're the best team. What's up?
Are you a best team in the event or best team between those two?
In the event, we're the best team.
That's the confidence we're looking for.
Yep.
Let's go. All right. Well, Recited, final thoughts from you before we let you go?
I want to give a shout out to all my homies, especially Koshina and Vask in the comments in your guys' Twitch stream. Always hyping us up. We got our cheerleaders and our team mascot. They're hyping us up no more than we can do, and they're just helping us win.
And just for everybody's sake, can you pronounce your name to make sure that we're not
It is recited.
Right?
Recited, yes.
Recited.
There we go.
So, Recited, thank you very much for joining us. Again, congrats to the quarterfinals victory. And seems like you'll take your confidence onto the grand finals. You've anything.
I will.
Congrats.
Thank you, sir. Good one.
Well, here's the numbers we've seen by the details. 69.52 and 69.41 EPS for Reveal and Mendez in that order. For CGL, nobody was below 100. Enough said.
Yeah, that's the story they wrote, and just overall, just not a single thing went right for Goons whatsoever. Because we talked about it, I think by round 5, all of a sudden there was just only 2-3 players for Goons that actually had kills, and only one of them was even. That was it.
Yeah.
So that was just from there on, it was okay, there's not really much you can do to improve other than just get everyone to start killing, and they didn't. Simple as that. There was just nothing else for Goons to do other than just try to shoot back. They can't do that. Coastal Gaming, looking as confident as ever, and I really do kind of believe Recited when he says we're going to try to make it to grand finals with this confidence in mind.
Hey, that confidence is indeed a difference maker. There's obviously the three different principles. There's the I'm better than you principle, there's the mechanical skill principle, and there's the team strat principle. Postal Gaming had three principles, threw them all at Wanted Goons, and won all three. That was really the difference maker in this series. Recited said it. The confidence was the difference. And when you have confidence and you are mechanically skilled, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, by the way. They were nowhere near it. With a 2-0 victory, 12-5 in round count, not 14-5 in round count, 7-6. And not a single player from Wanted Goons going positive. I think Exige didn't find a kill on Chalet, or found just one. He was 0-7 at some point. I gotta say, it is just a statement made by Coastal Gaming outside of groups. They are still very much here to play.
I mean, yeah, this is like, because I kind of mentioned it before that their group stage games were looking a little bit sloppy. The coordination wasn't always there. I mean, and he said it himself. They worked on it, and worked on it they did, because I mean, good God, man, that coordination was just superb tonight. So I mean, just looking at their cost stats, everyone's over a 60% margin. That's a majority of the rounds being contributed to make sure that you actually win everything out. So that is phenomenal in terms of your overall coordination, and it shows the fact that they have worked on it. So, I mean, props to you guys for working like your asses off, like you said, in scrims or just wherever else.
And that is very big kudos to the team, understanding where their shortcomings fall, and they understand what they had to make the adjustments for. I said it in the interview, I will restate it. Winner of Cinta Negra and SBL will take on Coastal Gaming in the semifinals. The other quarterfinals, SSG Academy versus X Osiris. Terrible draw for both teams, both of them probably event favorites coming into things. Feels bad, that's a quarterfinals matchup, not a grand finals matchup. But both of those quarterfinals will happen tomorrow. Both semifinals on Saturday, a best of 5 grand final will happen on Sunday. And the 3 games I'm really looking for right now, SSG Academy versus X Osiris, the winner of that versus Aerial Rise, and then obviously, because it's grand final, the grand final. So keep an eye on the next couple days, because this is an absolute screamer of a spring.
Oh yeah. And if SBL does go up against Coastal Gaming again, kind of like Recited said, it was in their favor. They won that game 7-4 in qualifiers, so they have history of beating them before. So this is going to be a very interesting one if SBL does in fact win that one, but I will be very excited to see how Coastal Gaming can do in their next matchup.
Well, we've made it through 2 of the 4 quarterfinals and 2 of the 7 overall matches yet to be played in the spring burst. We've got the other 2 quarterfinals tomorrow, Cinta Negra and SBL, alongside SSG Academy and X Osiris. Of course, Aerial Rise winning their quarterfinal. They are waiting in the semifinals alongside our newly crowned top 4 squad in Coastal Gaming. They will take the slug from the TCSG and move the CSG into the semis, and we'll move on to the quarterfinals tomorrow. Don't forget to join us. Same time, same place, same spring burst. See you then.